Hello and welcome to International Business Magazine. Today, on this new episode of Market Matters, we are going to talk about the road safety, the importance of road safety. My name is Ujal Nair, and today I'm joined by my assistant editors, Mr. Amit Raj, Satyanarayana, Tamanna, Madhulika, and Medaj. Now, road safety. When we talk about road safety, remember Corona, something called Corona? Yeah, that affected us in 2020 and 2021. There were varied reports of various number of deaths. But we need to remember something that the number of fatalities were just about lesser than what we suffered from road accidents. So it shows that no matter what kind of pandemic we are going through, road safety and road fatalities are always on top in the fatality list. Now, talking about this road safety week, why we took up this topic was because we have something coming up called the 7th UN Global Road Safety Week. And in support of that, we are putting out a message to our manufacturers, to our OEMs, to our technology developers on how the solutions can be developed in such a way that it could be incorporated in today's scenario, in today's possible technological, the points that are available with us. So, in that sense, we are going to cover a lot of things about the fatality rates, the safety measures, the safety component industries, the various innovations that have taken up from the OEMs, from the manufacturers, the parts manufacturers, and even some of the latest technologies that incorporates the IT sector, that is the connected technologies, the IoTs, and even some that are not even the automobile, like traditional automobile manufacturers like Tesla, like let's say many of the Chinese small startups that are coming out with very high end innovative setups for our traditional automotive makers. So we are going to cover this and more. So I hope you really get the best benefit of this. So right now I'm going to switch to Amit to open the with his opening statements.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Amit Raj. Uh, as our editor, Mr. Ujjan Iyer, stated, we are going to talk about road safety today. We are going to cover a lot of aspects, overall aspects contributing to road safety. So, among these, I would like to uh, tell some facts and about like fatality rates or the worldwide, which countries has the lowest fatality rates, uh, and are the best safest roads, and the most dangerous countries in which to drive. So the first thing is, you might be wondering, when we say road accidents, which country is the best with respect to road safety. So the Iceland is the one of the best countries, which is having the lowest fatality rate due to road traffic accidents. So the rate is 1.66 per 1 lakh people. So that means for 1 lakh people, only 1.66 people are lost their lives due to accidents. So this is one of the lowest in the globe, according to an annual report, and followed by Iceland. Next comes Norway, so which has a fatality rate of 2.02 per 1 lakh people or population. So after this, Sweden comes with 2.15, then Switzerland, which stands at 2.18. Then we have UK, which is around 2.70. So surprisingly, as everyone might have guessed, we do not have the United States of America in this list. So most of the people might have expected it to be one of the safest countries to drive, but uh, unfortunately, no. The US is doesn't have a low fatality rate. It has a high accidents rate. So, we'll talk about some of the measures or initiatives taken by these top performing countries. So, in Iceland, so as you might see, it's a very small island country. So how they have achieved this low fatality rate of 1.66? So in Iceland, as per the law, everyone must wear a seat belt. So this is not just limited to the driver and co-driver. This also applies to the people who are sitting in the passengers, the rear seat, back seat. So even it's mandatory for them, for everyone in the car. And for children, so they had to use appropriate safety equipment as per their weight. So this applies to children also. So this law is implemented by Iceland, and it's very stringently uh, followed and monitored. And driving off road is not allowed in Iceland. So these two are two of the best policies and regulations which Iceland has implemented. And then in Norway, they have adopted a Vision Zero strategy, which aims to achieve the traffic accidents in the highways to zero, or no fatalities or serious injuries due to accidents. So, and they have also identified 13 priority areas in which they have observed the driver behavior, then vehicle technology, the risk groups, etc. And they have addressed these issues with a fully integrated approach. Then there is a target-based progress measurement. What is the uh, accident death rate before and after the implementation of any project or initiative? So they monitor each and everything, and so they measure the their progress. Then they have also assessed the road safety risk for different age groups. Okay, and based on this, they also taken the safety measures. So then, even not only the government, even the public and private sectors are also involved in Norway. Then Sweden. Sweden has also implemented the Vision Zero. Vision Zero. They have implemented this as far back as in 1997 itself. So Sweden is one of the more first countries to implement this. So in Sweden has done some interesting, implemented some interesting things, such as, so see, whenever you see in a accident like in a highway, so when a car which is moving in high speed hits uh, the center of the road, the divider or median, what happens is it bounces off that. So and which may cause more accidents. So because the cars which are coming from the behind, they may hit it, so it causes more accidents and lead to loss of more lives. So what Sweden has done is it has implemented side guardrails, no, uh, which catch hold of the vehicles instead of deflecting them like the conventional guardrails. They have implemented side guardrails and even at the center, so which catch hold of the vehicles so that it does not cause more accidents. So this is very interesting, I think, and they have also implemented this in the center guardrails to prevent collisions, and they have installed permanent speed surveillance cameras, so through by which they measure the vehicle speed, so to and avoid the road accidents. So these are some of the measures taken by these top performing countries, and now let's see some of the, which are the safest countries and which are the dangerous countries to drive. So as I already said, Norway, which is an European country, Scandinavian country, is also called a Scandinavian country. Norway is one of the best countries or safest roads to drive. Then comes Iceland and Estonia. So all of these are in the European continent. And then the next world's most dangerous countries to drive. It's the topper is South Africa, and next comes Thailand, and then the United States. So let's also see which countries are having the highest death rates due to road traffic accidents. So we have seen the fatality rates of the top performing countries in the world. So now if you see the countries which have the highest death rates, it's Thailand, which is 32.2 per 1 lakh population. And there are some more interesting facts with respect to road safety aspects. One is that Germany, it has no speed limit. Even though there is a recommended speed limit is 130 kilometer per hour in highways, so most people ignore this. So and then Japan, France, Czech, and Germany, they have the 98% seat belt wearing rate. That is, 98% of the people wear the seat belts. And also, if you see the, we have already seen that South Africa is the most dangerous country to drive, and the reason behind is very evident. So it has the highest alcohol-related road traffic death rate in South Africa. That is 57.5%. So and then so when you talk about alcohol, so we are aware that the police in every country, they are checked for the blood alcohol concentration limits by breath analyzers. So there is a blood alcohol concentration limit, so which is implemented in most of the countries. So if you see which countries have the lowest limit, tolerable tolerance limit, so that is Malaysia, UK, Guyana, and US. This is 0.08% gram per DL. Uh, so that's about from my side.
Thank you. No, okay. If I want to know if anybody else has any points to add on to what Amit had just said.
Okay, so sir just informed us about the countries that have taken good initiatives forward. Adding to his point alone, I would talk about Singapore pedestrian rule. Okay, the Singapore pedestrian rule is that a car, a vehicle, anything cannot cover at a 50-meter distance of a pedestrian. They have a special silver zone where this thing is maintained. So you have a very happy pedestrian and happy driver too. Second, I would like to add is about Germany's credit system. They have incorporated a credit system where they get demerit points. So in this demerit points, if the offender has a certain limit, if he crosses that certain limit of demerit points, then his license is revoked. So I think these initiatives are quite helpful, and other people and other countries should take a lesson from them and implement it in their own country. That's all.
Okay, great, great. So that's about the safety of the pedestrians. All right, yeah, something to add.
Uh, no wonder that road safety is very important in everyone's lives. So I myself have come across my friends who have uh, undergone a lot issues through this. They have ignored the road safety. So to add to Amit's point and what Tamanna just spoke, so there is in Australia there is a zone wherein they can't and they have to wait for even an hour or so when it comes to the road safety of the children, especially in the school zone. So they are not allowed to pass on until the whole bus or the crew have passed on, and then only they are allowed, the other vehicles are allowed to move on in the road. So that accounts to a great accountability of the people there. And my urge to all Asian countries is that they also should follow these rules. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that was about the road safety, the fatality rates that are there across the countries. It was quite surprising to know that US is not there as one of the safest roads in the world, whereas US credits a lot of its developments and its current economic growth for the towards the roads. You know, once John F. Kennedy famously once said, I think John F. Kennedy, that roads are the ones, road infrastructure is something that US credits is booming economy. So better the roads, better the economy, right? But it's not just about roads, just about not just about any roads. It's not about having the longest road or the fastest road. It's also about keeping the people, keeping the goods safe on those roads, right? So, in that order, I would like to ask Satya sir to share his views about what the component industry the vehicle manufacturers, the component industry, especially the safety manufacturers, what have they in store? What are the developments that you have seen in this industry?
Well, Ujjwal, see, automobile industry or the vehicle industry is definitely a trillion-dollar industry, but a subsidiary of it is the safety components industry, which has grown to a billion-dollar industry. And when it comes to the safety components, we are talking about all type of vehicles, which includes the two-wheelers. And when it comes to the four-wheelers, you also have to add the commercial vehicles, the passenger cars, the individual cars, and everything. And even in cars as well as in two wheelers, you have two types, which is called the electrical cars, electrical two wheelers, as well as the electrical bikes and all. And yes, when it comes to the safety components of cars, you have the seat belts, you have the anti-lock brakes, you have the backup cameras, you have the crumple zones. And in many of the branded cars, you have all this, but it varies according to the brands that are in the globe. And when it comes to electrical vehicles, you have a different set of safety components, which includes like facial shield, especially specially designed jackets and all. But when it comes, and yes, there is another factor called as DSAT, which is the driver assistance safety technologies, where if a driver or any person driving a car or a bike, if he commits mistake, then the technology in that particular vehicle, either a bike or car, can take the initiative by means of new technologies like artificial intelligence or machine learning to reduce the fatality rate. Okay, for example, in US, there is one called as lane motoring system, which is implemented in every car, so that if a driver tries to switch from one lane to another, and there are chances of accident happening, the car itself will take the initiative to slow down the speed and reduce the fatality rate. So this is one thing which yeah, that's one thing which we will have to take into consideration.
So thank you, Satya sir, for sharing what the automotive industry, the ancillary industries regarding the safety components are looking into and what they are developing into. The one point that came out was about the ADAS. Now, ADAS is something that is being incorporated in the whole bureaucratic regulations itself. So there are countries, especially in Europe now, and some countries in Asia as well, where they have made it mandatory for the ADAS stage 2. All the vehicles are supposed to have incorporated the technology of ADAS stage 2. So in that, it's not completely autonomous driving, it's about driver assistance. As Satyasar said, the driver is being assisted to make the drive safe. So it may be the lane changes, or it may be the exiting of the roads, or it may be also about the speed that we maintain in the highway. Though the speed of the vehicle in the front, the speed of the vehicle in the back, all can be controlled through using ADAS. So the driver, no matter they are a novice or a full professional, even if they have poor judgmental skills as well, the ADAS is there or should be there to help them make the correct moves on the highway. So in that sense, just to extend more about these safety components, the latest innovations and the technologies, I would like to ask Tamanna here. So Tamanna, you have certain views about what the safety technologies are, what are the future innovations, right? So can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, so before that, Ujal, I would like to talk like we are talking about automobile designs and how they are helping it. Why don't we talk about road? What infrastructures that are also being helpful. So in the road infrastructure, I will emphasize on one point, that is self-healing roads. Now when you hear this, we know that these the researchers all around the world are planning to make a concrete mix which contains a certain type of bacteria which is encapsulated, and while you build the road, they are going to plant that bacteria into them. So whenever there is a crack in the roads or anything, the water or whatever the impurities go inside the crack, it will help the bacteria to break through it and help in the repairing process. So that is one point which is very good I found where when I recently read about the studies. Secondly, there was one thing known as intelligent speed bumps. Now these speed bumps are the ones that react appropriately on there is a board that you should go at a certain speed limit, and if a car is overdriving it or overspeeding it, then it has its own backdrops. So it that intelligent speed bumps are quite, that's quite, to look forward to. That is a nice technology I feel. And lastly, there is something known as traffic light synchronization. It is it is a traffic engineering approach, and it matches the green light times for a number of intersections to allow the most vehicles to flow through, minimizing the stops and delays for the drivers. So that is something notable also. So, and on the point that you just said about what are all the technologies further, I guess Madhulika can emphasize on it.
Okay.
Okay, on that.
Okay. Yeah, Madhulika, you have something more to add to it.
Yes. So just as we talk about ADAS, so we know that automation is implemented in these cars these days. There are a lot of cars who need assistance. Drivers need assistance, especially in long drives. There will be fatigue and a lot of things involved. So in that, I think the IoTs come to the point. IoTs come in the view. They enable real-time location of the drivers so that the fleet managers can control the speeding limits, and if there is another car or any other automobile coming in their way, so they can reroute them to the other location. So that is one point. Then we have, in case of any emergency or the say signals or the data will be sent to the owners of the cars or any concerned person, so that emergency help can be provided in case of any road accidents. And also we can say the drivers can receive information if the tires or if any of the components are out of control, so that can also prevent a lot of accidents and fatal injuries in long run.
Okay, great, great. Right. So that was all about the safety technologies, the innovations that we can expect in the near future. Now, how about a bit more about this NCAP? The NCAP is too very famous for for their 5-star ratings. Recently, many of the cars from India, from Europe, and even from Africa have been rated, and quite of them were quite surprising. Many of them were quite surprising. Some of the cars that were actually best selling were actually low on their safety ratings. So yeah, so we have Medaj here who has some points to share with us about it.
Mm, good evening, panel. So we are discussing something very critical. We are exercising our votes on the road safety and the assisted technologies that is in market today. But in countries like Asian countries or the European countries, most of the people are the limited buyers and the first time buyers. What is the one thing which they look into while getting into the cars or the automobiles? First thing first, they will look into is the looks. The second thing which they look into is the economic value of the automobile, that is, whether it is giving them good mileage. But isn't it this is not just the enough thing? We need safety features. So that's completely ignored. And to help dictate the terms for all the users worldwide, global NCAP test is something which helps in regularizing the customers to buy the best automobiles uh, across the globe. So what is this global NCAP and when it came into the picture? It came into the picture in 2011, and till that time the fertility rate amongst all the nations was very high. So why was it to understand why it came into the picture is because we Indians or the Asian or European people, we only buy because cars because on the basis of their looks, automobiles on the basis of their looks or the mileage. To avoid that, the global NCAP test gives the best rating to the cars. So, what my point is that we should not just look into the looks and the mileage, we should also look into the safety features that is accompanied into.
Okay, thank you, Medaj. Thank you for sharing that intricate details regarding the different automotive manufacturers and where they stand in their safety protocols and their safety promises towards the passengers. Now, I wanted to dwell into something more exciting in today's terms, that is self-driving. Yeah, we are talking about a lot about how important drivers are for cars, how important drivers need to learn, how important it is to educate the drivers regarding the road safety, regarding the driving safety. But as we just spoke about ADAS, where driver is being assisted into ensuring that they follow the traffic rules, they follow the basic norms of safety for driving towards the passengers, towards themselves, towards the pedestrians as well. So, in that sense, self driving, is this something that we are should really invest into? Is this something that the automakers should really invest into? Because we right now there are many countries that are already harvesting a lot of technology, from startups to big companies as well. Even IT semiconductors like Nvidia and Intel and even ZF has recently come out with a lot of technologies that is catering especially into the self-driving technologies. So in that sense, I would like to ask a few things about self-driving technologies. Is it a good point, or is it not that valuable in today's terms, Satya sir?
Yeah, it's definitely a good point, Ujjwal. The fact is, if you look at the fatality rates, we find that even the most developed countries with the most innovative technologies also are suffering the same amount of deaths. Okay, so when it comes to self-driving technologies, then it is mandatory that higher learning as well as advanced system takes care of the car and ensures that no accidents happen. So this is one factor which I strongly feel that self-driving technologies should be introduced as soon as possible in almost all the countries, or at least in some zones, especially in developed countries, like in the sectors where schools are there or where colleges are there, so that fatalities are reduced to a large extent. And it's better they be introduced at least at the night zones, or especially during weekends where most of the accidents are supposed to happen.
Right. So it's not about. So what you mean to say? It's not about more of the drivers being illiterate. It's more about how vehicles are designed, or how the roads are designed.
Exactly. The fact is that yes, nobody likes to get involved in an accident, but usually accidents happen when there is a mismatch between the way they think and the way they act. Right. So in that case, a self-driving vehicle will be more adapt to not only an individual but also to persons with disabilities like blind people or with handicapped people, where they can reach their destinations a lot more safe. And yes, when it comes to pedestrians crossing the roads and all, the self-driving vehicles will have that inbuilt software to stop as well as take good care of the traffic guidelines.
Right. So in this way, we can say that self-driving cars are an essential in today's terms to reduce that, at least that fatality rate on roads.
That's correct.
Right. So, but there are reverse, I mean, an opposite term there, and an opposite party there who talks about how, dangerous these self-driving cars can be. How reliable are these artificial intelligence? Because we already have 2 to 3 cases where these self-driving cars actually caused a very fatal accident. Right? I don't want to take out the names, but we know it, we have read it, we have seen it. These self-driving cars were completely at the mercy of their programs, their codes, their technologies, their sensors, whatever they had. So it's not like they are going to learn something new out of an experience. It's only that what they have been taught to do. So self-driving cars in a way is as good as the programming that has been done in them, right? So this is something that even Madhulika has added about the self-driving technologies, where there are certain areas in US itself where self-driving cars are allowed, ADAS 4, till ADAS 4 is allowed, right? But as I see it, till ADAS 2 is allowed because the regulators, the bureaucracies themselves don't rely much on these artificial intelligence.
It's not.
Hmm.
So artificial intelligence can be relied upon, but any minor glitch can lead to fatal accidents.
Right.
Anyone can hack into the system. That is also a very big problem, and that can lead to very dangerous accidents in long run. And also the cost would be extremely high. It would be unaffordable for a lot of people. Not everyone can afford these cars, which are very high end and have a lot of sensors and technologies involved in it. So it advantages, but also at disadvantages at the same time, like the two sides of a coin.
To add to the Madhulika's point, I would also want to prove a point that to drive these self autonomous cars, we need good road infrastructure first. Because especially in countries like Asian countries or Indian, from Indian perspective, if there is a self autonomous vehicles, what has it done is for some time the driver will be in autonomous mode, and at very point of contact he should come back from the autonomous to the driving mode, but they never come back, and this also leads to fatigue and other problems and related issues that can cause fatality.
Right, right. So this is something what I wanted to lead into, that is road infrastructure. This is something that not the automotive manufacturers or the passengers or the drivers or the pedestrians are responsible for. This is something that the bureaucracy, the government is responsible for, and they should take the initiative towards the road infrastructure. So when we talk about the road infrastructure, I have seen roads where it is completely IoT based. The road itself is talking to the cars. The cars are communicating back to the road. So even if the driver is taking a wrong left turn or a wrong right turn towards a no entry road or towards a road that is not meant for that car, the system there is telling the car that no, you cannot go this side. It does not allow that left turn, it does not allow that right turn. Even for that matter, even in the hilly regions, in the twisties and all, there are places where we have that blind sides, the blind curves, right? So there are regions, in these blind regions itself, where the car is automatically told by these road sensors that slow down, there's a vehicle coming up, approaching you. These are the kind of road infrastructure that really saves life. These are the things that really matters, right? In some highways, I believe in Middle East itself, in Dubai itself, I've heard about roads where somewhere under the bridge they have these artificial intelligence cameras that detect that certain cameras are changing lanes without any indications or anything. So those people are, penalized later, just because they have been caught. So these drivers are in a way enlightened as well about their wrongdoings. They might not know that they are doing something wrong, but when we showcase it through the cameras, through with evidence, we are enlightening these drivers as well. So road infrastructure also kind of plays a big role. This is something Tamanna had added about self-healing roads, right? Something about the bacteria, they heal together, they heal back. So we would like to know something more about that, in that sense, the road infrastructure.
So I have already highlighted the asset points. What were the road infrastructures in there, in that, but I would like to highlight it again if possible. So the thing that I told about self-healing roads was that there is certain concrete mix in which they're adding a bacteria. In that, the bacteria, when you build roads, whenever there is a crack or anything in the road, instead of letting it grow, the bacteria helps it repairing it. Oh, so there is a certain process. So not only that, they're using it in for asphalt also. in the asphalt process also they are adding regenerators in them so that they can repair the roads effectively. That is how they are looking into the innovations for road designs and everything. So I think that's like a very nice initiative, I must say, that they are emphasizing on these issues too.
Another thing I've heard about is plastic roads. Roads made of plastic waste, plastic substrates. Yeah. There are certain in India itself I've heard governments incorporating minute plastic particles fused with tar and other elements, so used as a main substrate. Instead of using metal there, they are putting in plastic substrate and filling up the potholes or leveling the roads or increasing the size of the roads using plastic. So yeah, rubber roads and plastic roads. Is this something viable there?
Yes, Ujjwal, it's viable. I would like to go back to Tamanna's statement. When it comes to the self-repairing roads, we have to take into account that there are a lot of accidents which happen in Asian countries due to potholes. And if these self-repairing roads are in motion, I think the fatality rate will definitely will be reduced if we implement this in a large way. And when it comes to these plastic roads, yes, there are plastic is largely considered as an environmental waste. But now what happens is they have started including plastic even in making of roads, manufacturing of roads like cement, asphalt, and all. So one thing is, if plastic gets extremely heated, then it melts and it can level the surface. Okay, it can repair the thing by itself. Yes, there is one thing like which causes pollution and all, but at present, I think this is one feature which we have to look into.
Right. So the plastic roads, although it sounds very fancy, it sounds very attractive proportion for the government itself, because it doesn't involve any raw material. It just involves something that is already used. So it sounds recyclable, it sounds very eco-friendly and everything, but at the same end, we have activists saying that if these roads disintegrate, there are chances of these plastic particles getting inhaled by the pedestrian itself. And so especially in city areas, this is kind of being avoided as much as possible, right? And in the same way, about the rubberized roads, about the concrete roads, even though they sound to be long lasting, but the entire process itself of making it seems to be a very hazardous one, and at the same time a tedious one, a costly affair for the government itself, right? So in the same sense, now since we are touching on the roads itself, the best roads in the world, so Amit sir were talking about some of the best roads that are there out there, where there are the lowest fatality. For example, Iceland. Now, I would beg to differ on one small thing about Iceland. Iceland doesn't have as much vehicle population as the other European or the US or even the Asian countries have. Like for example, Thailand. When you touch the Thailand has one of the highest road fatalities, right? But that is also mainly due to the high population of two-wheelers. It is one of the highest, densest two-wheeler industry in the world. Most of the high-end bikes, the bikes that are not there anywhere else in the world today. Thailand and Indonesia are such a big export industry for the Yamaha, Suzuki, and Honda. So I would point out that one little thing there, that because of that fatality rate is more because of these two-wheelers, high dense two-wheelers, and also because of these dense two-wheelers, of course there are many maniac riders. Because most of these accidents are happening because of these maniac riders who don't follow the rules as per se. And when we again coming back to my point is, when Thailand and Indonesia were coming up with some of the best roads in the world. I think, if I remember correctly, one of the longest bridges, the road bridges, crosses one of the cities of Thailand. It's almost 40 kilometers. That bridge itself is contributing the biggest part to the Thailand economy. In the same way is for Australia. Australia is infamous for its boring and fatigue inspiring long roads. That's why they also have something called the road trains.
Yes.
Trailers that are, multiple coaches. So these are the roads that are developed in such a way, keeping in mind that yes, the population is there, the need is there, but look at the vehicles. What are the kind of vehicles that are available in the market that day? If we go from like past history, earlier we used to have the bullock carts, the horse carts. That time the muddy roads were okay for us, right? Then the motorized vehicles came, then the rubberized tires came. When the rubberized tire came, then came the arose the need for tar roads, the concrete roads that could give us that smooth ride. And now the new revolution is coming, electric vehicles. Today we talk about roads that can charge the vehicle while it is going over it.
Yes.
Today we are talking about roads that can itself heal the vehicle or detect the vehicle, diagnose the vehicle while it is going over it. Any of you heard about that musical road? When you go over that road on a certain speed, that road generates some music. That is, how it works. So what happens is, it is actually kind of encouraging the driver to drive that car in a particular speed. So what that regulation is if the driver drives that car on that lane on a particular speed, you can hear that music. So they were kind of encouraging the driver to limit your speed. If you want to hear the music, limit that speed, you can hear that music. So these are the kind of innovations happening. So at the same time, for electric vehicles, the next evolution that I'm saying, the next evolution that is coming, electric vehicles. For electric vehicles itself, a lot of innovations that I've heard about is these wireless charging,
Yes.
wireless charging roads,
Yeah.
roads containing electrodes or electrolytes under themselves and wirelessly charging the vehicle. So I wanted to ask you all, electric vehicles, of course it is going to happen in another 5 to 6 years. Of course it is going to happen. Do you see a mighty revolution in the entire road infrastructure itself? Because these electric vehicles, if you see, they are mechanically and electrically quite different, quite significantly above, I would say, above the current internal combustion engines. So do you see a big new revolution or big new challenge coming up?
Yeah, I agree with you, Ujal. And you said that earlier we used to have bullock carts and muddy roads, and then it has evolved to what we have today. So both the uh, vehicles also have evolved, and the roads have also improved. So same way, I think this has to continue further. So as we move on from the fuel driven cars to electric cars, and uh, all electric, like 100% electric vehicles when we see on the roads worldwide. So the infrastructure is also has to improve, definitely. Otherwise, it doesn't sync. Like when you are talking about ADAS, so there is a lane change assist system and all to assist the driver. Imagine driving a car with ADAS in a road where we don't have any lanes. So what use of that technology would be? So when you don't have any lanes in the road. So definitely the governments and the countries all over the world have to keep up with the technology, and they have to speed up, hasn't the like developments, infrastructure development in pace they have to keep pace with the technology. It's not just enough if we have like autonomous cars, self-driving cars. That itself will not do. We also have to have the proper infrastructure in place so that this technology works best.
Another innovative concept that I've seen, it's just in the concept phase. So we have seen speed limit monitors. When you pass through a camera, it notifies this is the speed of your vehicle, right? In that same sense, there is something that is coming up called the emission monitor. So when you pass through that pole can detect how much is the pollution that you're emitting. So that is another interesting concept that could be incorporated, where governments or the states itself are not very keen to promote electric vehicles, or not just electric vehicles, the zero emission vehicles. No? So that is one concept I just wanted to add there.
Okay.
Another good technology is the FCEVs. That is the that uses, and the byproduct will be the only water.
Fuel cell electric vehicles. Okay, okay. Okay.
So that has already been implemented in many countries like Thailand and even in Japan, and India is also getting into it, used to it. So FCEVs are also the
I've heard of a big investment coming up from the Emirates and Saudi Arabia itself, but I don't think Saudi Arabia will shift that fast, because right now their economy wholly relies on the huge oil reserve they have right now. So Emirates, yes, to some extent. Dubai, I can expect something revolutionary can happen from there. So the main problem there itself is the generation of hydrogen. The fuel there is hydrogen, and the benefactors of these FCEV technologies, what they say is that the best part of hydrogen run vehicles is that from oil to wheel, they have almost zero emissions. So if you see for electric vehicles, from oil to wheel, as we say, the well to wheel emission consumption, the emission or the pollution consumption or pollution exertion is higher than the internal combustion engines. So that's why they're saying that in today's cost, electric vehicles are not as environment friendly than the internal combustion engines, because even though yes, the oil extraction, the petrol extraction is a very eco-friendly harmful activity, the vehicle itself that is being run on this is kind of very eco-friendly, so it kind of balances out there. But at the same time, the electric vehicles, the batteries that are being prepared from nickel, lithium, cobalt, the electrolyte, yeah, the electrolyte itself, that liquid that is there, that is very harmful to prepare. The battery, the whole process of preparing the battery is so water excessive. It takes up so much water in so many regions. Even the whole concept of these semiconductors that are being used to control these vehicles, that itself is very exhaustive on water resources. So in a way, if you see that, what is better if you want to go for IC engines, at the end, at the wheel, it is kind of eco-friendly, but sorry, not eco-friendly, I'm say combustive, it is harmful, polluting everything. Electric vehicles are non-polluting. In the urban areas, it's not giving out any exhaust, any emissions, nothing. But how to prepare it, in that entire preparation process, it's so polluting. It is not doing the it's not serving that cost. So FCV, as I was saying, hydrogen. Preparing that hydrogen fuel is kind of tedious, because what they want is a completely renewable energy source that could be used for generation of hydrogen, and that is not possible right now. Today, even for generation of hydrogen gas that is going to be used in these vehicles are coming from electricity itself, and we know how electricity is being generated, right? So that's for the hydrogen vehicles. In the same sense, if we are talking about electric vehicles itself, safety wise, we have seen so many cases of vehicles burning, electric vehicles burning, basically because most of these manufacturers are in the race to capture this market, this ever growing market. They are not tested properly, they are not maintained with the same standards as the IC vehicles. IC vehicles have certain standards, but those standards cannot be maintained the same for electric vehicles. The heat management, the battery management, the liquids, after a crash, if anything leaks, this electric vehicle has a bigger chance of being a fatal one. Electric vehicles have a bigger chance of turning into a fatal crash than the IC, right? So this is something that electric vehicle manufacturers have to look into in the future itself. I think recently on April 1, Bharat Stage 6 Phase 2 came up in India. That was as equal to the Euro 6D. So in there itself, it was mentioned that right now from April 1 in India, already it's there in Europe. In India, what the government is saying that all the vehicles will be based on RDE testing, that is real world driving emission test. Currently it is all being based on IMCT, that is MICT, manipulated Indian cycle test, lab tested, that is lab tested. So the lab test for India and the lab test for Europe and the lab test for the Arab countries are all different, but at the same time when we go for the electric vehicles, there needs to be certain set of standards that could be accumulated for global way. In earlier somewhere we had read that there are regions that is extremely cold, Russia. There are regions that are extremely hot, the Saharan deserts, the Arabian countries. There are regions that are extremely humid, the Brazilian, the Latin Americans, and there are extremely dry, Australia. In order to make those vehicles apt for all these regions, vehicle manufacturers need to set up their laboratory testing sites and at the same time adhere to those safety protocols and regulations in those regions. Right now what we are seeing is they are preparing their vehicles, manufacturing their vehicles in Thailand or Indonesia or India or China, and they are just exporting that as it is to European countries where the climate is different, the situations are different, the driving conditions are different. So this is something that we expect the vehicle manufacturers to look into, that when they are developing a vehicle, they need to look into the research facilities, they need to look into the research concept, the studies, the results that have been developed from that state itself, from where they are going to export that vehicle. So in that sense, I think we have covered most of the points for today's session.
One last point is my query is related to the tires, which also play a significant role in the road safety. So nowadays there is a lot of tests for the tires also. And my question is, we are still going with the vulcanized tires, with the age-old tradition of the uh,
Age old tradition of getting the rubber out of the tree and then turning it into a sap and then
so
vulcanizing
is
it.
there any other options available at the moment in other countries other than the vulcanized tires or like that?
See, in the tire industry, I have seen many manufacturers going in for the recycled ones itself, or just changing the vehicle, the material itself, using means impuring it with some kind of other materials, including plastic and paper. So in this way, they are not at all, not only reducing their head cost, the overhead cost, they are also looking into putting out a longer lasting vehicle, a longer lasting tire. So if you check, not many vehicle manufacturers are going in for most of thing. I think mostly in the EV vehicles, EV manufacturers, they're not mostly going into the soft rubber tires. They're mostly going to the hard rubber tires, the ones that are as recycled as possible. The more harder it is, the longer lasting it would be. So that is what is more preferred in for a longer lasting vehicle, a hard rubber tire, a hard compound tire, right? So in tire wise, yes, that is some kind of innovation that we are seeing there. Also, I have heard about airless tubes, the tires that don't need tubes, but those are like punctureless tires, completely punctureless, right? But those are like long drawn concepts. Some of the concepts have been introduced and long gone before even we saw it in the market. So in that sense, yeah, tires, fuel, the body, the electricals, these are some of the components, many things that are there in a vehicle. And on the road, the roads itself, the material in which the road is being prepared, the road signages, the traffic signal system that would help not only in improving the fuel economy and improving the flow of the traffic in urban areas, but also making the entire ecosystem safe, the pedestrians, be the cyclists, the pedestrians. Cyclists is something that we hardly talk about in the Asian countries, whereas in European, many of the cities are looking for no car, no vehicle roads. Yeah, Amsterdam, best example, Amsterdam. They are fully going into, even some German states, they are fully going into no vehicle zones. They want to completely make it into either a cyclist or a pedestrian friendly zone, right? So this is something that, not only improves the overall safety of the pedestrians or the drivers, but also health benefits, but also improves the air quality and maybe even the life quality of the public, of the population living there. So in that sense, I would like to wind up today's session on the road safety, and what are the innovations or what are the future prospects that we can expect in the coming days. And these are something that it's not coming right out of our findings. This is something that we have heard, we have read, and these are kind of our opinions that we believe should be incorporated or can be incorporated by the government bureaucrats, by the automotive manufacturers, and different technologies and enterprises. So thank you in that sense for staying up so long and listening to us and having a I hope you had a beneficial insight from all this conversation that we had today. So thank you everyone. My name is Ujal Nair, signing off from International Business Magazine.